Alright. What's really going on? Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. Today, going to be taking a look at Cardano, ADA. Going to be taking a look at some of these key technical aspects of price action moving forward. Going to be assessing some of the pivotal areas of support and resistance I believe we're going to be interacting with in the very near future here. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you bullish? Are you bearish? Do you trade? Do you hold? Or do you let the price action unfold? Are you bullish on price action? Do you think we've found support and we're likely to rally back upward here to this, multi-dollar range that we came from not too long ago? Or are you bearish on price action? Support has yet to be found, and you think there's more downsides, more sideways accumulations, more lower levels will present themselves moving forward? Let me know your thoughts on price action down in the comment section. So we have price action interacting with this ascending trend line that comes from sort of like the middle of March of 2020. We have interaction kind of sort of above and below it for sort of weeks, interacting with it both as support and resistance at some points, in addition to these kind of horizontal levels. We have more relevant price action and interaction with this ascending trend line kind of, I was going to say kind of beginning of 2021 here, when we had kind of multiple rejections off of it, suggesting it was resistance for a period of time at the kind of beginning of January here. We had two kind of rejections downward, some collective, higher lows and support being found, built up enough momentum to plow through potential resistance at this ascending trend line here at the kind of beginning of February. Since then, we've been rallying in a very bullish manner. There's been plenty of like FOMO present in the market, I do believe. Lots of tops being bought and bottoms being bought, and this pump has been kind of very bullish since that break upward along this kind of trend line here. Interaction with these kind of significant ranges, I do believe, between 93 cents and kind of $1.08 is going to be significant levels of support. I believe we might have to make our way kind of toward to interact with. We do have potential significant resistance between $1.38 and to $1.48, and so I do believe that's a range that's going to be with very high sell pressure, and there's a lot of traders taking profit. So when price action is met at those levels from the underside, we seem to have kind of very significant sell pressure and resistance. We do have three kind of rejections off of this 10-cent range between $1.48 and $1.38 on the kind of 27th of February, 18th of March, and the kind of like 15th of April of this year. Price action got rejected downward and sent us to kind of find support along this kind of $1.08 to 93-cent zone that we were bullish enough to bounce from, plow through resistance at this the kind of $1 and 48-cent resistance zone there to set these kind of swing highs at $2.40 something cents, and so price action was looking very bullish. Although a very abrupt change in momentum occurred, sending price action plummeting toward potential support at this more bullish level above $1.38. Although we failed to hold that level, reaching all the way down to, in these kind of very aggressive wicks on the 23rd and 19th of May there, we reached all the way kind of like through past that ascending trend line to interact with the lows sub kind of $1.08. That bounce was very aggressive though, and it sent us back above the $1.48. Price action stayed quite sideways against very high sell pressure, consolidating all the way toward that ascending trend line after a period of weeks, but ultimately failing to hold support at that level, breaking downward on the kind of 18th of June, falling through potential support at $1.38, sending us back down to this lower zone near a dollar. So price action in a very kind of critical sort of state at the moment. A lot of buy pressure present. Fundamental buy pressure is keeping us, I believe, sideways against some very, very high technical sell pressure, as we've been kind of very bullish for a very short period of time here, and the overall demand for Cardano is very high fundamentally, although the kind of sell pressure present in the crypto sphere here is causing a lot of the coins to experience some short-term downtrends. But I do believe Cardano wants to be bullish. We are experiencing price action at the moment is experiencing resistance at $1.38. That could send us back down all the way to that kind of $1.08 range, which will be a kind of more bullish bounce target that we could very much find a bottom at. Although if we are bearish enough to break that level, we do have kind of more short-term support potentially, even at if price action is found kind of sub a dollar at like 94 cents. But a new perspective comes into play when we consider EngineeringRobo along with the fettuccine lines of zucchinis, Illuminati, bikinis, and Illuminati again. We can see the 0.5 Fibonacci line at $1.24 is going to be a more bullish area of support. Say we get slapped from $1.38. Holding that 0.5 Fibonacci line is going to be quite bullish in the short term, and could allow us to build up the momentum to plow through all this resistance between $1.38 and $1.48. But even once we find our way kind of above those levels, we have the 0.618 Fibonacci line at $1.53, suggesting some very high sell pressure and resistance kind of moving forward. We do have the 200 daily moving average kind of down there as potential support if we are bearish enough to kind of break the 0.5 Fibonacci line and plummet toward that kind of dollar level there. The more significant level of support, I do believe, is going to be above my sort of 94-cent line at the 0.382 Fibonacci level at 95 cents, just below the 200 daily moving average. And so, I mean, there is room for downside in the short term because there is a big significant zone of potential support that we could fall into and hold, which would be very bullish in the kind of midterm. Although price action is in a very kind of tight range at the moment, we do have that sell 4 against USDT here, suggesting some very high sell pressure. And like I said, based on the significant resistance we're interacting with, I do believe we could get slapped all the way down to this kind of $1 zone to find a potential significant support. But that 0.5 level could come into play. But when we consider Cardano against Bitcoin, a new perspective comes into play here. Price action against Bitcoin is looking a tad more bullish, in my opinion. We do have this very aggressive consolidation sideways. Price action wants to be bullish. Bitcoin is in a very volatile state at the moment. Lots of swings upward and downward. Very aggressive sideways and FUD sell pressure in the market. But Cardano is looking quite bullish against all that crazy sideways that Bitcoin is experiencing, and Cardano does want to be bullish, it seems. I do believe this pivotal range between significant kind of support at the sort of like 30.96 Satoshi level all the way up to this 52.99 Satoshi level is the range I believe we were going to kind of stay within for a kind of period of time here as we kind of find support and look to kind of reestablish the uptrend. Price action did sort of exhaust at this swing high near kind of like 50.42 Satoshi, sending price action plummeting down toward that support at the kind of like 30.96 level there. We bounced very aggressively, attempted to find higher highs, but lower highs were established and resistance was found at this kind of like swing high-ish of 47.80 Satoshi, sending price action down toward a higher low. So very aggressive sideways. Price action does want to be bullish. This is a tad more bullish in my opinion against price of Bitcoin. But a new perspective comes into play when we consider EngineeringRobo along with the Fettuccine lines of geometry and symmetry. We can see a new perspective come into play considering this 0.786 Fibonacci line at 40.55 Satoshi. Price action is currently at resistance as well. So we do have that sell 4 against the price of Bitcoin, suggesting some perhaps potential downside and some more kind of sideways might have to occur before the uptrend can continue. A more bullish level of support is going to be the 0.618 Fibonacci line at 32.72 Satoshi, above my kind of like 30.96 level there. The 0.618 line would be a higher low relative to my support level, and that would be more bullish in the short term, and we could suspect perhaps support to find itself kind of sooner than later. Price action finding its way above the 0.786 line, we can be more bullish in the short term, although I do believe significant resistance is present just ahead of us here, and we will have to have a lot of momentum to kind of find our way above and perhaps have some daily candles closing, like opening and closing above that level to establish it as kind of support. We do have lots of kind of room for downside, in my opinion, and we can still be bullish, even if price action were to be, so bearish enough to trade, so sideways with a downward kind of bias all the way toward that 200 daily moving average. If we were to bounce off of that 200 daily moving average against the price of Bitcoin, I do believe that would be very bullish for Cardano moving forward. We are still above the 200 daily against USDT and against Bitcoin, so Cardano fundamentally, I mean long term, in addition to technical aspects, is looking quite bullish, although there's a very high technical sell pressure present, keeping Cardano kind of like sideways in the kind of like midterm here. But lots going on for price action, still looking bullish long term. Some downside, some lower levels might present themselves in the short term here. Price action at resistance against the price of Bitcoin. But when we consider Bitcoin against USDT, we can see a new perspective come into play. We have price action trying to interact with this very crucial, very pivotal, very significant level at the 0.5 Fibonacci line. 34,300 is very crucial moving forward. We need to establish this either as support or as resistance before we can determine the kind of direction of the trend short term here, because there is so much going on with Bitcoin at the moment. There's lots of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the market, with some, due to some, very abrupt changes in momentum coming from the all-time highs that we came from. A lot of new investors in the market were down significantly from potentially their, first times investing. We have a lot of technical reasons to be a tad short-term bearish. We have that price action below the 200 daily moving average, which is going to be a very high technical, bearish suggester for a lot of many traders, I do believe. In addition to that, we have the sell for EngineeringRobo bearish against price action, so there is a quite high sell pressure and a bias to break downward here. Although the fundamental, demand for Bitcoin at these levels, I do believe, is very bullish and is very, high still to keep us, sideways against a very high technical sell pressure. We've been very bullish in a rather short amount of time, in my opinion. We're up quite a bit still from this time last year, so perhaps some more downside or sideways in accumulation is necessary for the trend to continue upward. I'm always still long-term bullish on Bitcoin. In the short term, perhaps some more sideways is necessary. Support found at that 32K level is going to be quite bullish and could give us the momentum to plow through the 0.5 again. Even when we get above that range, we can get all the way close to the 0.618 level and get slapped all the way back down, which is what kind of happened on the 15th of June. Price action got near the 0.618 line there at 41,500, but exhausted and got slapped all the way back down to kind of where we are currently. Price action below the 200 daily moving average suggests some very high sell pressure on the underside of it. Once we get, say we get back toward the 0.618, if the 200 daily is kind of still where it is, a very high sell pressure will be met on the underside of it, and I do believe a lot of traders will be taking profit. So we will need a lot of momentum to reestablish the 200 daily as support, and that will be kind of very bullish for the trend, and we can suspect some very aggressive upside kind of following. My most bearish kind of targets are still going to be the 0.382 Fibonacci line, sub 32K. We can find price action at around the high 20Ks, and I can still be long-term bullish. Even if we are so bearish to fall through the 0.382 all the way to the teens here, fall through the 20Ks into the high teens, the 0.236 line at $18,195 per Bitcoin is still going to be a very bullish level of accumulation, and could very well be what is necessary for Bitcoin to be kind of six figures, although we're still quite bullish fundamentally, and I do believe a bottom is approaching. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hearing my analysis. Try EngineeringRobo free with the link in the description. Subscribe here on YouTube. Check out all the other social media down below. Let me know your thoughts on the direction of price action down in the comments. Are you bullish? Are you bearish? Are you accumulating in these lows? Did you sell your whole bag? Do you think we've found support? We're likely to rally to all-time highs and plus six figures is around the corner, or are we still bearish? The downside, the 20s, the teens, these lower levels that we came from in the not-so-distant past, maybe they're ahead of us as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you for tuning in, and tune in for the next one.